Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Marr, and this is going to be a video about hair. We just went over eyes, nose, mouth, and I started going over here and it died. So we're just going to do hair separately in another video, we hope. But at any rate, what I wanted to get across with hair is, first of all, how it sits on the actual skull is important. So think about the fact that you may think, all right, I'm going to draw my eyes, and then I'm going to draw a little bit of my forehead and then my hair, and start drawing in here. Way back when you're blocking out your picture, and I should have said this before, you want to think about the skull underneath the hair and think about the way shadow and light hits the overall form of the head. That's going to be important because that shadow and light is going to hit the hair that way too. Maybe a little differently because of the texture of the hair, and we need to think about that. But say, for instance, I'm going to work with what I was saying on this one that wasn't recording. First of all, you've got above the brow, there's usually some sort of highlight right above the brow, and then you have the forehead, and whatever, you get your eyes in here. That doesn't really matter. What matters is the way the light is hitting the forehead. You want to draw all the way up and under where the hair would be. So then you can think about the fact that everybody has different types of hair. If you're, I don't know, just going through basic training in the military, and you've got a very short haircut, you're going to see the skull a lot through the hair, okay? If you're a girl with your hair pulled back in a ponytail, you have to think about the way, in either case, you have to think about the directionality of the actual hairs, the contours that the hair is following. You know, for short hair, it might be sticking straight up and out of the skull. For longer hair, it may be pulled back and around it, or it might be flowing down in curls. It all varies. So you should really, truly, throughout this process, be observing what you actually see. But for some general rules of thumb, make sure if your head, like the light's coming from over here and there's a shadow on the head over there, that plays in, okay? You're going to cover parts of it. But if you had short hairs and a hairline like a guy with a short haircut, you might start seeing hair like this. It's not a solid line. It's not like a Lego head where you just snap it on. You might see individual areas. If it's a girl whose hair's pulled back, like in this one over here, the contour is going to roll back in a certain direction. And those hairs would get closer together as they get further away. They're visually going to appear closer together. So it's probably looking darker in the distance and a little lighter up near the hairline. Okay. And I'm just using the Vine charcoal right now to kind of get that feeling in there. I'm just redoing what I did over here that nobody could see. So let's say that it's hair like that. Now, it could be that you've got bangs, and the bangs could flow down this way. And maybe they're sort of rolling around the shape of your head. So they could be shadowy in one spot where it's hitting the skull up here, roll into highlight. Let's give the bangs, like make them longer, and roll down around this way. Okay, let's just leave some highlight and some shadow up there for the time being. And then let's say maybe the hair is just pulled back at the top, but the bulk of it is hanging down. So maybe that's rolling around this way like it's headed toward an elastic band in the back or something, scrunchy. It might get darker on the edges there. It might not. And then say the rest of it's falling down. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to try and hit everybody a little bit. So even if you have very blonde hair, chances are right around here, like say that's where your eye socket is and your cheek, and well, let's just put the face there. All right, so say that eyes are falling in here. This is probably in shadow. The hair that's in the back of your head that you can see, like say maybe the neck is down here. Down in here, that's probably very dark, and it works to silhouette your face nicely. Even if you're blonde, it's probably somewhat shadowy back there. Okay? And then as it comes out, you're still following the contours. It might be like if you have different tufts of hair that go in different directions, you want to follow those contours. And if it's in shadow, maybe this tuft of hair is falling over that tuft of hair. It might be in shadow behind it, come out into the light. Maybe it curls around here back into shadow. We don't know. All right. But it doesn't, it's not flat is the bottom line. Maybe this comes out from under here. Okay, I'm going to make this come out a little bit more just so we can see what's what. Maybe this is curling up and then goes in behind there. Okay, so this is just with the vine. You can push that around with a stump if you wanted to. We're not going to push it around too much yet. Let's build some stuff up there. All right. Let's say we're going to go back in with a, this is a soft pencil. This is about a 6B. Oh, the other thing is you want to take a clean one of these. If you're working in an area that you've already covered, like maybe you've already done the eyes, nose, mouth, and now you're going to do the bangs, you can put a piece of paper over that. Be careful not to smudge it around too much and lean your hand on that. It's going to make your hand cleaner, but it's also going to stop the thing from smudging. Come back in here once you know where you're going and fine tune, and you can drag, even in your highlights, you can drag some hair down in there. Maybe it's going to get a little darker where it's near the skull there. Maybe this is going to come around. Again, I'm just winging this out of my head. I'm not looking at an object, so yours will all be different. But back here, you've got more overlap. You're not seeing every individual hair way back in the back of your head. You might have some highlight. In some parts, it's not necessarily one big round highlight like that. Here, the contour starts changing. Maybe the light's a little different on the side of the head, so maybe it stays lighter more. Down in here, you can play up every tuft of hair in the back, make that darker. You can definitely get darker colors, darker values with the pencils, and we haven't used them yet, but the compressed charcoal. But you were reinforcing the texture in the hair here. Okay. And then the last step that ties it all together and unifies it is to take a sharp eraser and go over it. You can push harder where you want to highlight, or just go over it more where you want to highlight. But you're unifying it by dragging it into your shadows and dragging your shadows into your highlight a little bit. Okay? It gets rid of the white of the paper and makes things more solid. I would probably roll this around to get the right angle on it here. And just unify it all by taking the eraser and going over it so it gives it a little bit more of a finish. It's okay to still see a little bit of the white peek through. And you can always go back in with your pencil again if areas get too light. If you're in a dark area like down here and you want to make this curve come out more, you can cut into the shadow underneath it. If you're blonder, you can have a little more highlight, a little less shadow. You want to leave that big white there, but you might want to put something into it. Like here, I overdid it. So I'd go back in and put a little more texture in the shadowy part. And you can just play back and forth between the two. You can also use a 2B and get a finer, lighter line. I'm just being lazy and just using a 6. Okay, so that covers the general basics of hair. This is one of the very last things you're going to want to do. Okay. If anybody has any questions, let me know. You know where to find me. And I can't wait to see what you do. Have a good day.